What is up, Team JVS? We are back with another review. We are here with the Night Agent Season 2. So, we finally finished, watching the show, and honestly, I enjoyed what I saw. It wasn't anything crazy, but we're going to dive into it. This is our non-spoiler review. But for starters, Season 1 was good. It was fun, and it made me want to dive back into it. It by no means was amazing, and but it was enough to grab my attention and to be like, hey, like I'm actually excited for more of this, and that's what it did. So starting season 2 was something I was kind of excited for, and being in a whole new situation. Like I don't want to dive into too many spoilers, but obviously we're going to be thrown into a mix that's different than what we were involved in season 1, and that's one thing that I did enjoy because we got to see a more kind of mature, more kind of battle hardened, if you will, Peter. And that's kind of an over exaggeration, but in a sense, he clearly is more involved with the Night Agent program, which we knew that he was going to be joining after the ending of the last season. So it was very interesting to kind of start off with him in the middle of, certain situations, and they don't waste time. We dive right into a mix, kind of bad stuff, and obviously that makes sense. But immediately we get back into a situation that we were in from season 1 when we were kind of on the run. So it was really interesting to see the way that they kind of started off with it's a heavy hitting introduction, I will say. And I will say I was really excited with what we got, and compared to the first season, I mean, I feel like there was a little more action involved. I mean, I will say we got a decent amount of action in the first season, but there was, times where some of the action was really cool. But I will say there was also times where the dialogue did feel a little drawn out. There was also certain situations, where certain, I guess, relationships had certain troubles, which I feel like we didn't need to dive into, certain problems, which just felt like they were unnecessary at times. And I feel like the issue with that is we have certain shows on Netflix that are 8 episodes, some that are 6, and then that are sometimes 10. And this is one of those situations where it's a 10 episode show. And the fact is, every episode's about an hour, it's almost an hour long, they're about 50 minutes long. And so diving into it, it's like sometimes I feel as though they're just trying to fill up the time, and sometimes you can notice it. There's certain pieces of dialogue just again that aren't necessarily needed, and sometimes there's a conflict between characters that again just feel forced and just feel like they're just there to kind of waste time. There are things that we already feel as though these characters should know, or things that they've already touched up on, and now it's just kind of being reused, if you will. It's just being forced or milked, and that was one thing that I did have a little problem with. But then they would end up throwing something in at the end of the episode that would be like, okay, this is really cool, and it kind of redeems all of the slow burn moments. There's also a lot of moments where it's like the thing that I will give this season is it really has you frustrated at times, and it's not because of poor writing, it's just because of the situation that these characters are in. Sometimes decisions or sometimes things that happen are just really bad. They're just, it's messed up. And to see that happen here, we see that time and time again. And there's a certain situation in the middle of the season that just really has my head hurting, and it made me genuinely sad. And I think one thing that this season does, maybe even a little better than season 1, is they get you a little more emotionally attached to these characters, and on top of that, you're just more emotionally invested into certain circumstances. There's certain things that happen that actually had me like sad. Like I was feeling for these characters, and sometimes it's a little difficult for me personally to kind of get connected to a character, but knowing that some of these characters have to do all of this stuff in order to reach their goal, and then sometimes that goal doesn't work out. It's so hard, to dive into this and then not explain, like, not to throw these spoilers at you, but realistically they did get you really emotionally connected to some of these characters, and I really did like that. I did like that. I will say that, if you're going into this and then, you know, uh, you just want to know if you should watch this after you watch season 1, Yeah, I think it's fun. The only thing is, again, it's 10 episodes, so if you're ready to commit to that, then that's perfect. But that is one thing I will say. It just does feel like one of those shows where it doesn't necessarily need 10 episodes, and I'm on the boat where sometimes like there's a lot of shows that could use a lot more than just 6 or 8 episodes. But this is definitely one of them that they have a story that they want to tell. It just does not need to be as fleshed out as they end up making it. And that's one thing that I will say that I really enjoyed kind of what they were going for. It just feels really stretched out at times. But nonetheless, it is still a good. It's still a solid season. I will say that. Just like the first season, it's not extremely memorable. Like you're not gonna be like, oh crap, like remember that show I watched 2 years ago where this, and this happened. You're not gonna remember every little detail because nothing really stands out to an extreme level, but it's still solid enough to be like, oh crap, like that was cool. I kind of want a season three. And the thing is, like at the end of the season, it really even got me more invested. Like I was like, okay, this is happening now. This is happening, and this character had to do this in order to reach this goal. And it's like they're building anticipation for what's to come, even though the excitement might have not necessarily have been there for this specific season. But again, there was times where I was still very invested, but now I'm actually, even though like I am still thinking that this was just a solid season, I am still very excited for what's to come because these characters are still really cool. Like, don't get me wrong, they're still really exciting, and I know they can do a lot more with not only the story but these characters, and I think that's what kind of gets me really amped up for what's to come. And I really enjoy the kind of like thriller, spy kind of aspect to it. That's one thing that I really enjoy about shows, and you know, it's fun, and I feel like it's a solid show on Netflix. I'm glad it's not canceled. We're greenlit for another season, which is always fantastic. But I'm really hoping that season three can kind of pick up you know the craziness a little bit. But I will say, as for season two, it was still pretty solid. I am still okay with what we got. Again, make it clear, nothing amazing, but it was still fun. If I didn't feel like my time was wasted, and that's usually how I kind of like grade these shows. I went into it and I felt like it was good. And there's just a couple moments kind of in the middle of the season where you're just gonna be like, okay, this is a little weird, it's a little dragged out. But again, the final product at the end of the season makes it worth it. There are some anticlimactic moments where it's like you wish the bad guy got a little more, Mm, but you just wanted to. It's just like at this point, it's just a kind of a revenge tour. You just want to see how it's gonna play out, and when it's not as satisfying as you want it to, it's just what are you gonna do? But these characters have really kind of developed in a cool way this season. We've seen characters that were kind of not able to take care of themselves, kind of step up and find their own way and find a way to be useful. And it just gets you really looking forward to what's to come for season three. And if we're going to get an introduction to more characters, because we got an introduction to a few new characters this season, and I think that they were a cool addition. And, going into a whole nother show, a whole nother season. I feel like they're gonna do a really good job with adding more characters to the mix. So we're gonna have to wait. We're gonna have to wait and see. But I do want to say thank you for my little rant, my little rambling. I will say that the show, I'll give it I'll give it a B, B minus. Nothing again, nothing crazy, but I enjoyed it, and it's enough for me to be like, oh, you know what? I want a season three of The Night Agent, and I'm proud of Netflix for not canceling it because there are some shows that aren't, you know, top tier shows that they are just like, oh, if this show isn't receiving if everyone's not loving it, then we got to cancel it. But I feel like there is a good niche of people that are going to be like, okay, The Night Agent is one of my, top shows on Netflix, and I like that for you. So I'm really hoping that they do manage to keep this around for a little bit because I think this is one of those shows that they have that, even though it's not like what people are buying Netflix for, it's still a really solid show to have on your on your list, and I think it's one thing that they should keep around for a little bit because I had fun with it, and I think it's again a solid show to have on your list. So again, looking forward to season three. Um, if you want a cool show to just kick back and kind of just chill out and watch, this is definitely the show for you. Gets a little kind of heavy at times in areas, but you know, because I'm not gonna lie, but it's still, you know, it's a good show. Like it gets really depressing, and sometimes again there was some moments that were a lot darker than I expected it to go, and I'll give them that. I will, but again, thank you for listening to my ramblings, my rants, and thank you for checking out Team JVS. We got a lot of other content dropping, whether it's for the Recruit or Cobra Kai or even the Wheel of Time in the future. We got a lot of shows dropping, so just stay tuned. And for now, a big thank you to all of you. You guys have been great. You guys have been fantastic, and I will see y'all soon. So thank you for watching. And again, if you want to check out my content, you can go to Bizzy Brown. Everything should be linked in the description. And on top of that, you can check out my reactions to The Night Agent on my channel as well. And if you want to go to the Team JVS website, you can check out a written review by yours truly, kind of diving a little deeper into my thoughts and a little more organized, if you will. So thank you for your time, and have a good one.